Okay, if everything has gone according to plan, we should be live on YouTube. Hello everyone and welcome back to Weeks in Avrona. 2 weeks in a row. I know we have such a great streak going. But it was a interesting week to say the least. A lot happened. First we lost Ozzy, then Hulk Hogan, and obviously a lot went down when it comes to the internet we all know and love. Plenty of stuff there. Enough that I kind of wanted to do a whole live stream, whole episode, just kind of talking about a lot that has happened, especially given how the UK Online Safety Act just kicked in. As a person unlucky enough to live in the UK, I wanted to kind of give some of my thoughts on it. Well, okay, it makes it sound like I really hate the fact that I'm living through the Online Safety Act. I'm very much indifferent to it. I just kind of, I'm saying unlucky to live in the UK for plenty of other reasons why it's not fun to live here. The Online Safety Act is literally just not even in the top 100 reasons. But anyway, so I feel that it's also a good time to, give some context, dispel some myths as someone who lives in the UK about what it does, what things are restricted and what things aren't restricted here on the islands. Because there has been a lot of confusion from what I've seen already, because would you believe people like to spread misinformation on the internet, and people quickly believe into whatever they read or hear online? Like, who would have thought? So yeah, let's kind of talk about some of the stuff that has gone down. So what exactly is, most of you probably have heard of it. Most of you have seen what's going on. If you haven't, let's kind of quickly fill you in. So the Online Safety Act of 2023, and yes, it was first passed in 2023, so it isn't just a current Labour government thing, right? It has been something that's been in the works for a long time. Is basically that means that in order to basically websites that serve content that isn't safe for kids need to then verify the age of said person with a picture of their ID. But that is basically the gist of it. It's something you've probably heard a lot. I know you've heard conversations about these kind of systems being in place all over the world for years now, right? I know some places have introduced it already, I believe. I think as some states in the US, I think maybe introduced something similar. But now it has also arrived in the UK. And no, for the people who I've been seeing on Twitter talking about it, that doesn't mean it also applies in the EU. Okay, it's completely different. And to be fair, let's be honest with ourselves, the EU probably isn't too far behind on this kind of legislation. It will be coming EU-wide very, very soon. That's probably going to be about on par with what the UK law states, just so they have nice, consistent rules throughout most of the continent. So obviously there has been a lot of people who support it, and obviously a lot of people who are against it. I really don't want to get into so many of the kind of arguments of it. Yes, kids need to be protected, and yes, there's always that kind of concern about, what happens to that data being stored. A lot of it is just about data security, which is kind of really what a lot of people have issues with. And as long as, that data is handled properly, then it shouldn't be a problem. But of course, companies can never really be trusted to do that, which is why kind of a lot of people have issues with it. So it is something that is something you have to live with. It is something that is probably the lesser evil, again, depending on how you look at it. And it just has to, now lawmakers have to ensure that companies just stick to the strictest standards when it comes to protecting our data, or ideally, just once they process the ID, just get rid of it instantly. Or, if there is a leak that does appear, that they fine them to bankruptcy. So basically everyone else gets taught a lesson to never allow a similar leak to appear. So I don't think we should be I don't think we should be just completely against anything like this just because of these concerns, especially because these systems, data security is always getting better, but also the ways that hackers try to exploit it always get better, and it is a never ever ending struggle that's been going on since the dawn of civilization, really, between people wanting to protect stuff and then evil people trying to get into said stuff. I don't think we should be getting caught up on it when all we can really do is just keep on improving the systems. But it is again a very weird topic. I really don't want to get into. What I wanted to do really is misspell some myths that I've been seeing floating around the internet when it comes to this. So one of them has been about certain websites no longer working whatsoever, and I'm just talking about just kind of weird websites. I'm talking about people saying that Wikipedia isn't working anymore because of this, but no, there it is. Wikipedia working completely fine. I've chosen probably the worst possible article to show this on, because I know that YouTube have a tendency to demonetize channels and demonetize videos that show a certain symbol from around a time period, so I should probably just quickly get rid of that. I've also seen posts about how some websites are just completely gone because they don't want to be bothered with this new legislation, like for example 4chan. But I actually tried and it works. I can't believe I actually went on 4chan just to see if it was banned or not in the UK, but it wasn't. I saw images of people showing that there's like some notification that pops up saying that it completely left the UK and that they should just get a VPN or something. But no, that is completely not a thing. And one thing, speaking of VPNs, we should probably also address that, because people have been very kind of confused about what the situation around that is going to look like. So obviously people are going to use VPNs. The ones kind of desperate enough will use VPNs. However, the law actually has something about that. So the way it works, from what they've kind of stated, is that websites are not allowed to suggest VPNs as a bypass to this system. So as it is right here, according to Ofcom, platforms must not host, share, or permit content encouraging use of VPNs to get around age checks. So websites themselves cannot promote in any way. And likewise, VPNs themselves, if they want to be legally operate in the UK, it sounds like they aren't allowed to have that be a marketing point on the website or in any kind of promotion or ads. They aren't allowed to have that be a marketing point. How is this going to be? How much is going to be enforced? That's what I'm curious about. Are they actually going to go after this? Is this something that we're actually going to see companies get in trouble for doing? I am so curious if they're actually going to try and do anything about it, or is people just going to use VPNs regardless? Still, I don't think most people even have to go as far as using a VPN. You probably saw already, people have been just using the face of Norman Reedus from Death Stranding to bypass it. That's one way of doing it. However, I feel like, given how it appears to just be a simple ID check, what you can literally just do is grab a random ID from Google Images, and then when it asks you for a selfie to confirm it's you, just ask AI to generate a selfie of the person in that ID image. With the era of AI, I have no idea how they can enforce this in any kind of good way. That's the other thing. So you don't even have to bother wasting money for a VPN unless they like do some additional checks to match the name, to match the face, to like I don't know. I actually don't know how in the era of AI any of this can be made to be foolproof. It literally can't. AI is just too good right now for these kinds of systems. Like, if anyone has any ideas in the live chat, please let me know. Like, what do you think could be a way that these companies could somehow be AI proof when it comes to people just spoofing their ID or spoofing their identity to get around this, so that they don't even have to pay for a VPN? I'm curious, because I honestly can't think of a single way. But But as we've been talking about, the potential data security implications of this, a story came up very, very recently that kind of really, which for many people was used as ammo as to why this is a bad system. And that is, you probably saw that as well. There was a massive hack for an app called T, which is, from my understanding, I didn't use the app because apparently it's for women only, and I don't fall in that category no matter what the comments say. It's basically like a woman gossip app, and it was basically hacked because the bucket that was storing all of the info, like the entire database, including photo ID, the IDs used for ID verification in the platform, which is very similar to what you're talking about, it was just left in the open in a public bucket. And from what I understand, at Firebase, which is who I've been hosting that with, they make buckets private by default, so they had to literally go out of the way to make it as unsecure as it was. So I've actually found people who are much smarter in this than me have posted this, which is apparently all the code that it took to carry out this, hack, if you even want to call it that. Okay, it was a hack, but it was just, again, one of the simplest ones ever. To the point where I'm kind of wondering, was the app basically fake? No, was it fake? But like, was it basically a honeypot in a way to gather all of this data in the most unsecure way possible, just then harvest it? Because that would make sense, given again how little security there was. And like, people have been using, like, several women on there who use like the Department of Defense IDs and like log in and took selfies for verification from American like secret military bases. The whole thing is a mess. And again, people have been using that as an example of why the Online Safety Act is bad, just from the angle of the safety of the data. And again, that is a whole conversation. I assume that most websites are going to have much better systems for handling all of the data and all of the ID verification than this. And again, if they don't, then they need to be dealt with very, very quickly, so that it is a lesson for everyone else. But it's amazing, really, how these two kind of things happened almost at the same time. But that isn't the end of the woes of the internet, because another thing that's been going on is we've seen restrictions put in place by payment companies, like your MasterCards and your Visas on, first it was Steam, and on recently like an indie platform, from what I understand, like a platform for indie games called itch.io. So MasterCard and Visa have been requesting that these companies have been to pull games who they think are damaging the brand image. And the thing is, can you make the argument that it is actually harmful to the brand image of these companies? Steam have actually changed the rules. Valve have actually changed the rules for the platform to adhere to what the payment processors want. But again, forget about the arguments of like censorship, free speech, and like artistic expression or whatever, and just think about the fact that, do the companies have a case or not? It's one of those things I've been trying to figure out myself, because if you're trying to purchase something completely abhorrent online, something completely disgusting, and then you just have, pay for this now with MasterCard at the bottom of the website, like, you can't argue that doesn't affect the brand. That does very much, I think, could really affect the brand. And I think to an extent they do have an argument when it comes to this being damaging to the brand, because obviously they don't want the logos, they don't want Visa or MasterCard to be associated as the payment platforms for bad stuff. Like I don't think that is too unfair. However, there's also so many other ways of getting around that is going to be kind of interesting. Obviously, PayPal is a thing, but PayPal, you still are using MasterCard or Visa most of the time, but just going via PayPal. And who knows if they introduce similar things. I know a lot of people have been also demanding that Valve make their own payment processor. Like, I'm sorry, you can't just spin up your own payment processing network. They kind of type that Visa or MasterCard or any of those are. It just doesn't work like that. Valve have a lot of money. They have so much money, but I don't think even they can spin up something, especially if it's such a minute problem. It would not be a worthwhile investment for literally anyone to create something that could rival Visa or MasterCard in a meaningful way, just for such a niche purpose, that there is literally no ROI in that for anyone. And I don't think they're going to bother because of it, especially because, again, there are some other ways of getting around that companies have always used to use when they have disputes with some of these card companies. For example, on eBay, from what I understand, they had a falling out with American Express, so you can't pay for anything on eBay with an American Express card, but you can still use PayPal and pay with American Express through PayPal. So, and there's, of course, another thing that people have been suggesting a lot is, because it's 2025, crypto, and people have been quickly jumping to, make crypto an option, but yeah, if they changed from Visa and MasterCard to just maybe PayPal, but probably not, and like just crypto, or maybe some weird other than very niche payment processing platform, that would just hurt Valve's reputation, because it is still a bit too sketchy for a lot of regular users, and especially when you consider what huge market guys like Steam and Valve in general operate in. Crypto is just way too sketchy for a lot of people, and they just won't want to bother with it, especially when they can just go to, I don't know, Epic Games Store, whatever, the Xbox app, and they can just continue to use the payment methods they know are safe and they have already set up, and they don't have to worry about, how on earth you set up a crypto wallet or whatever. Or like using some, again, if Valve somehow, for some reason, made their own payment processing platform, instead of, there will be some people who are going to use it, but it's very much going to be the Linux type of crowd. You know what I'm talking about. It's, if something like this came up, this anti-established payment platform that to rival the likes of MasterCard or Visa, that is all about decentralization and freedom and privacy and whatnot, the overlap of people who use Linux and the overlap of people who use that platform, it's not even going to be a Venn diagram, it's just going to be a circle. It's that kind of crowd. You know the crowd I'm kind of talking about. The crowd that kind of just likes to use the kind of stuff to be different. And I'll just leave it at that before I have too many Linux viewers yell at me in the live chat about all of that. So yeah, Valve are doing stuff about this. Platforms like itch.io are doing this about this. Other guys are probably going to follow suit as well. The main thing is, if you are going to do this, make sure that the wording is good. And people have been worried that the way that at least Valve have been wording it is extremely vague. Now, probably they are going to continue rephrasing, reworking all of it. It was probably a very early a very early thing just to address it straight away. And now they're going to probably spend the next couple of months and years looking at it from every single possible legal angle to improve the wording of the rules going forward. And, especially given how big the platform is, how many people rely on financially on, how many devs, and indie devs specifically, and not even that, AAA guys. Obviously, they don't do anything that would potentially offend payment processing platforms, but you never know what they could be, what exactly they could have issues with. So, AAA guys, they don't want to they don't want to risk it. They want to just make sure that they are with platforms that provide ultimate stability so that their money can keep on flowing. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting time indeed when it comes to a lot of these changes happening to the online platforms we know. Some of these changes can be argued as to be good, some of these changes can be argued as to be bad. Again, it is just too big of a rabbit hole that I just don't want to even bother. I'm just presenting you the facts, and you can tell me how much you agree with the payment processes and tell me how much you hate the payment processes for this in the live chat. I'm not... Okay, I don't want to say I'm not going to open this can of worms. I kind of basically open the can of worms by just talking about it. But still, like I said, it's a very, very, very interesting time. But those are just kind of a quick rundown of what's been going down this last week or so. I first wanted to do this live stream just talking about gaming mice. I just wanted, because we had so many come in recently. We had obviously the new Death Adder V4 Pro. They also sent over the last gen Death Adder V3 for me to compare it against. We also had a brand new Cobra. I wanted to do a video because, oh, go away phone. No one likes you. I wanted to do a live stream about that because if you remember last week's Weekends of Avrona, I went on a, I guess, a rant you can call it, about how I feel that for products like the Razer Adder V4 Pro, so many of those features and improvements that they added are so minute that the average person will never ever notice them, and they are just overpaying for something that they probably don't need. So I wanted to do a live stream which is just me gaming, trying out these different mice, seeing exactly if there is any kind of perceivable difference in one's gaming ability between these different mice. But maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe something else will come into the office then. But yeah, given how many different mice have come in recently, I really wanted to cover that. But I think we have some other really cool videos coming up this next week. A lot of unboxings. Really, really a lot of unboxings. I mean, we still have the Y40, which is right here, plus also the Pure Base 501 from Be Quiet to be done. The smartwatch, which I kind of teased last week. I believe I teased it last week. Yeah, that still needs to be done. And of course, there is that product which I teased from Razer, because I said that they invited me to their London store a couple of weeks back to showcase 2 products. One of them was the Death Adder, which I can now talk about because that's out. The Cobra, however, the funny thing about the Razer Cobra is that it was just such a low-key launch. I only find out about it from my Razer contact literally hours before it was released. So I received it the next day to do a video about that. So it was a very they just didn't really bother to do too much about it because they had the Death Adder be the main priority when it comes to gaming mice releases right now. But there is still something else coming later this month, which, okay, you know what it is right now. They teased it already on Twitter, I believe, so you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, they sent over both the regular and also one of the console versions, and that is coming very, very soon as well. So I think that is pretty much it for this Weekend's Avrona. A bit of a shorter show, but like I said, not much going... Okay, a lot happened, but at the same time, I just don't want to also spend too much time arguing and giving away my opinions on all of this, because I just don't think... because I just can't be bothered. So this one will be a bit of a shorter show. And then next week could be a bit interesting. So definitely let me know which games I should be trying as well for a little experiment. But again, plans change. If something else comes up this week that I'd rather do the next Weekends with Avrona about, then that will probably change as well. So that is about it for this live stream. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, like, whatever. And I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.